Hello and welcome everyone to anubhavtrainings.com. In this video series, we will discuss about how to automate your Fiori application. Many of you have come to me asking a question, Anubhav, would it be possible for you to showcase how can we build automated tests for SAP Fiori applications? What are all your recommendations? And probably we want to adopt the open source technologies to automate Fiori applications end to end. So this is a special video series which we are recording to able to help you automating SAP Fiori applications. So we will be using this video series to showcase end-to-end test automation for SAP Fiori application. Probably at the end, we will also build a small automation tool which you can use in your project to automate Fiori app. And guess what? All of these with open source technologies. So there is no third-party license cost involved. And you as a developer would be able to do this by far yourself. So let's get started. The prerequisites to start with the test automation in the Fiori applications, whether these Fiori apps are part of S/4HANA or they are part of Business Suite, these are all the following prerequisites we need to install in our system. The first prerequisite is WinRAR software, which is an extraction software. You can download this in your computer and then use this tool to extract any of the further files which we will be downloading. Remember, all of these are whitelisted softwares and you can download them as part of your company laptops without any worry. I will put the link of this PPT in the description of the video, so you can download all these softwares by the provided PPT in the description of this video. So I have already downloaded and installed the WinRAR software. The second tool which we would need is JDK, the Java Development Kit. So I'm using Java 1.8 version for our development here. So JDK is the prerequisite tool for our integrated development environment, and it is also an open source. So after you install JDK in your system, you can go ahead and check whether this is available or not in your system. So how do you check that? You can just go back. Let me just switch out of presentation mode, and you can go to the command prompt in your system and you can search for Java -version. So now you can see it shows me that I have Java 1.8 installed already in my system. Now, if it is not available, definitely you should download and install JDK in your system. The third important tool is our development environment. All of you who are associated in the development, you must have developed or used some tools in your life to develop something. For example, when we start programming, as C programming, we use C compiler tool. Or when we start learning Java or JavaScript, we use the Eclipse development environment. So this is what we will be using throughout also to develop our test automation scripts using Eclipse. So that's the third thing. You can see here the Eclipse development environment for Java EE developers. The current version which I'm using is Eclipse 2019-9. It was released in September 2019. That's the version we are using. So I click on the link and you can see here, you can click on this button to download, to get started with the download of Eclipse. You can see the download has begun at the bottom. So I just cancel it because I've already downloaded and kept it in my computer C drive automation folder. So I would also request you to download all these things and group them first together as part of your some computer directory. For example, in my case, I did it in C drive automation folder, so that you will be very well organized. Otherwise, all your files and things will be at separate places, which will create more confusion. So for just to avoid confusion, I've downloaded everything in one single directory, C drive automation folder. After the Eclipse is downloaded, simply you have to double click and install this in your system. I have also installed the Eclipse in same directory, and you can see after installation, I have got an Eclipse folder here, and this is the eclipse.exe which I have to start building my automation scripts. Double click on this. And now you will see the Eclipse will begin. The very first thing, Eclipse, when it starts for the first time in your system, will ask for a workspace. So workspace is nothing but a folder in your computer where Eclipse is going to keep all the files, all the projects which you develop. So you see, it was December 2019 when it was released. So that is the current, as of now, latest version in the market for Eclipse. So this is getting starting. In the meantime, let me move to the next prerequisite. Okay, now it's starting. So I can see here, this is the directory where it's going to create a workspace. So rather than this, I would probably go back and change it to my C drive automation folder, Eclipse workspace. So if I just go back and show you the C drive automation folder, right now the Eclipse workspace folder doesn't exist. So when you say launch, you would see now it has created an Eclipse workspace folder. So this is where all your projects in general will be stored, part of your computer. So all the projects which you'll create will come here. In future, if at all you want to take a backup of projects, you can always take it from here. Anyway, whatever project we develop, I will be sharing all those with you so you guys can use it as it is in your company. All right, so let's go back. So that's Eclipse workspace, and in the meantime Eclipse is booting. Let me go to the next prerequisite. So next one is downloading, installing Maven. So what is Maven? Maven is a build tool. Just imagine if you are working as a big corporate company who's supplying computers to their vendors. So you cannot just ship your laptops or computers to your customers as it is. You will be properly packaging them together, right? Similarly, when it comes to softwares and software development, it is essentially important that we package everything properly together so that when the software is produced and shipped to the end user, this is probably unpacked in the same manner. And packaging also includes the prerequisites. Suppose you are using some frameworks, which we will be using in these sessions. We will also want to package all our required dependencies and frameworks together. And that's where the Maven is very helpful. It's a dependency management and packaging tool, which allows you to build the software with the required dependencies. So you don't have to go and search for all dependencies across the internet. You can just use the Maven dependency tool and the Maven build plugin to package as well as bring in and download the dependencies automatically from the vendor side. So you need to just download the Maven first. So you can see I've also downloaded the Maven. Maybe I'll show you the one which I'm downloading. That will be very helpful for you to know is the exact, because I was searching internet, I could not find one single blog on internet which could give me this information and bare minimum information which is in a short form and an organized way. So I come back to the Maven download repository, and here you see you have to just download the binary zip archive for Maven based on the operating system you use. So we are using Windows here, so I downloaded Apache Maven 3.6.3 bean.zip. In future, when you're watching this video, probably this version may change, but remember you to focus on the binary zip archive only. Yeah, just download this. I've also downloaded this here. You can see, yeah, it's here already. And the next important thing is we need something called a Chrome driver for Selenium. So this is nothing but a driver, as the name suggests, driver, who's going to drive your browser. So depending on the browser you want to use for test automation, you can download the corresponding driver. Suppose if you want to run your test script in the Mozilla Firefox, then you need Gecko driver. If you want to do it in Internet Explorer, you need IE driver. We want to start with Chrome browser. So we would download the Chrome driver. I have also downloaded the Chrome driver here, as I can show you here. See the Chrome driver is also downloaded over here in my computer. So I organize everything together in one single system. And that's how we will get started with it. So these are all the prerequisites. Probably you can download this PPT from my description of this video, and then you'll get all these links so that you can download these things in an organized manner. Our focus is to not go too much into the theory part, rather focus more on the practicals and doing the stuff in the system So with the bare minimum knowledge, you will be able to get started with the test automation in your company. Because I have received many of you requesting, Anubhav, is there any better way or a robust way or an industry standard way by using open sources to do an end-to-end test automation? So guys, automation is the key, is the future to reduce the manual effort of testing and increase more and more automation so that you can test on time, especially when it comes to cloud delivery. Most of these solutions these days offered in the cloud, you have a very fast release cycle. So manually testing your applications, your Fiori application is really a cumbersome task. It's an error-prone approach. So this is the reason why we should target more and more to be able to focus on the test automation to reduce the manual effort of execution. All right. So that's the main goal. So now, after doing all this, we would need to know a little bit of basics about during installation. So when you're installing Eclipse, please make sure that you choose option as Eclipse IDE for Java developers. And you can see here also you have to choose Java 1.8 VM. So this is the one you have to choose. So remember, you have to select the JDK which you've installed in your computer. It will typically come and land up on your C drive program file Java folder. And please choose the Java VM version as JDK rather than GRE. Okay, so I put it in the screenshot. So during installation, you'll get similar screens. So at that point, you can probably choose it, right? And also check the installation folder. You can keep it in the C drive automation folder. Please organize these things in the same manner. You will not have any hiccups to set up these things right, and then you'll be able to automate. So after checking the Java version of installing Eclipse, we will install the Maven tool. So what you've got to do is let me extract this Maven. I would do it here itself in my C drive automation folder. So extraction is complete now, and go to Maven. And now we go to bin directory. So this is where you see the Maven command is kept. So if you just try to go back and run this Maven command, Maven-version, would see right now it's not recognized. The reason is simple. Your computer is not able to locate this Maven command actually. So for that, I just close the command prompt. I copy the directory path, copy this, and go to this PC, my Windows, right click, and you can go to properties. And once it opens properties, go to advanced settings, environment variables, and you will see here something called path. Double click and just include here new address as the directory, bin directory of your Maven. So this is the way you configure the Maven, correct? So system can find the Maven directory. So that's the step. So let's go back to the command prompt again. And this time again, try Maven -v. And let's see what happens now. So I just type Maven-v this time. So voila, you can see it has detected now the Maven correctly, which means now our setup is complete. So once again, quick steps to repeat. We have installed the JDK, Java Development Kit, whereby also checking later on Java-version command, and we are using Java 1.8. And then we have downloaded the Eclipse for Java EE developers or Java developers. And then we have used Eclipse environment, installed it in our computer and set up a workspace properly. And then finally, we have downloaded and extracted Maven and set the path so that system can detect the Maven command. It can find the correct address of the Maven installation directory. And then finally, we have downloaded also the Google's Chrome driver. So we will understand the meaning of and the purpose of this driver in a moment. So what is the open source typically we use to automate the Fiori applications? Let's quickly go ahead and discuss about basics of automation. So we will be using something called Selenium, which is a very popular framework for automating Fiori apps. Or in fact, any web application. Selenium can be used to automate any web application. And as you all know, our Fiori applications also run into the browser. So you can also use Selenium for that. And it's absolutely free. It's an open source. So let's understand what is Selenium, a quick theory about it. So in interview, somebody asks what is Selenium, you will be able to also help. So Selenium is a free means open source, automated testing framework. used to validate web applications across different browsers and platforms. So the main advantage of using Selenium, first is it's free. The second is you get very good documentation on internet. And the third advantage is it will allow you to run your test, which is written once. You can test it on multiple browsers. So it can also do the browser testing. You write one code and the same code you can run in multiple browsers and also on multiple platforms. It's platform independent. So this is the biggest advantage. The Selenium is you can use multiple programming languages like Java, Node.js, C#, or Python to automate using Selenium. Wow, that's the biggest advantage. You get it. So no matter which programming language you're comfortable, you can use. For simplicity, as many of you come from JavaScript background as part of my UI5 Fiori training, it's easy for you to ramp up on Java programming, and you get very good documentation from the community about the Java. So we will be using in this video series Java programming language to automate using Selenium. Now let's understand how exactly the communication will work. So what I'm going to do is just quickly go back and say browser logos to just represent our browser layer. I'm just going to pick up some browser logos from here. Just quickly pick it up, any of these browser logos. Yeah, makes sense. Copy, come back. So on one side, you see that this is your browser logo. So what exactly happening is your applications are running in the browser. So you will ultimately use any of these browsers. I'm just also going to get Fiori logo, SAP Fiori. So ultimately your Fiori apps are going to run on the browser. I'm just going to copy this. So you had built a Fiori app yourself or your development counterpart have built it. And now it's a requirement for you to test these Fiori applications built on SAP UI5 technology. So this sits on top of the browser. So ultimately you're doing a browser test and you're testing your application, Fiori applications. Now, who talks to the browser? So basically each browser has something called dedicated drivers that I was explaining about a moment ago. So you have a Chrome driver who knows how to talk to the Chrome browser. You have a Echo driver who knows how to talk to Mozilla Firefox. Similarly, you have IE driver. So the top three used browsers in the world today, IE driver, this knows how to talk to the Internet Explorer. So these are all the drivers based on which browser you want to perform the test you need to have in your computer. So right now, we have taken the Chrome driver in account. Of course, as in when we progress, I will also show you running the same code which we will write to run on different driver. There is absolutely not a single line of code which you have to change in order to run your test script into different browsers. So on one side, you will write a test automate or test script. This is the script, basically nothing but some code. We will be using here Java programming language, and this script code will communicate something called Selenium. Yeah. So this will talk to something called Selenium driver. Yeah. So this is the guy which is in between your actual driver and your test script. So you as a developer will be writing these Selenium scripts. So this is you as a developer will be writing Selenium scripts. So even though you are not comfortable with Java programming, just follow through these video series, and trust me, it won't take much time for you to get used to it. And we will be also covering up lots of interesting topics going forward. It will give you a complete end-to-end idea of how to automate. Yeah. And now if you see here, this guy here is called Selenium driver. I would call it a Selenium WebDriver, which is a dependency we will be adding soon to our project. And this will be downloaded from the internet when we create a Java Maven project. So we will be using Maven here as a dependency management tool, as I mentioned. So this WebDriver is currently have not downloaded. This will be downloaded by Maven automatically. Okay, Maven will do that. And then our script will talk to this driver. We'll give commands to the driver will talk to the corresponding browser driver, and that will then talk to ultimately your browser. Okay, so suppose if you want to automatically click on a button, you will be writing some kind of a code. I will show you. So you will have to identify where the button is on the screen based on its element properties. We will have a dedicated chapter on that. And then that you give a command to the Selenium to click on the button after identification. And then it will use one of these drivers depending on your automation strategy. And in fact, the same JavaScript code Java code can run on any of these browsers based on the just changing the driver type. Yeah. And this is the beauty. Selenium driver here, WebDriver abstracts you from the coding which you have to do for different browsers. You don't have to do that. Selenium driver is providing an abstraction layer of your test script from the actual driver. So this way your code is reusable across platforms and across browser. That's the strategy we are going to take. So let's get started. This particular session today is mainly to focus on setting up the things right and then getting started. So what I'm going to do now is I will go back by the time our Eclipse is ready, and I'm just going to close this welcome, and we will get started with just a simple project. So I'm going to start with a very simple project. So I can choose a create project, and I will choose here a Maven project. So just create a Maven project. I'll say next. So we will be using Maven as a dependency and packaging tool. So that's the reason I'm starting with the Maven project. So we'll say next. And now here we will just choose the default workspace location, which means in our computer, in this Eclipse workspace, my project will be created in a moment. I'm going to go back the next. And now here we can choose something called architecture types. So Maven gives you some predefined architecture types to basically generate the skeleton of your project. Okay, so it will automatically create the skeleton of your project in a simple and a nice way. So you can see these are all the built-in skeletons which is provided by Maven, and we can choose any one of them. Now, if you really observe here, there are different skeletons. So maybe I just search for .apache source Maven project. So you can see there are different types of people or different organizations publishing different open source project types. So maybe we'll be using Org Apache Maven. You see Org Apache Maven archetypes. So we'll be using a simple one to generate a very simple Maven project. I'm going to say next. And now the next step is to provide the group ID and artifact ID. Now, what is it? When you build a project using Maven, Maven makes sure that your project name or your project identity remains unique across the globe. So this is why we give a group ID first of all. Typically, it's your company ID. So within your company, within your team, there is one project which you create, which is unique and different from others in the rest of the world. So that's why the group ID. So typically I would give it as com.anubhavtrainings.com. That's my group ID. And then we will give an artifact ID, let's say Fiori automation. And we can say finish. Now Maven is going to create our first project over here called Fiori automation project. So you can see here, we have got a very simple package structure over here, and we have got our first app.java file, a very simple basic file, app file to run. And then the interesting thing to note here is this file called pom.xml. What is pom.xml? This is the file where you maintain all the dependencies you need, right? So you will probably need, let's say, different open source frameworks, like I mentioned, as Selenium WebDriver. So you would need to maintain an entry in this POM file to specify what are all the other frameworks you would need to be part of your project to reuse them. And that's what Maven then will automatically download from its location, right? So now if you double click on the pom.xml, you will find here that this pom.xml will have a section to add dependencies. You see dependencies, and it will also include something called a Maven plugin. Okay, these plugins are basically going to help you to build a project, to package a project properly. So we don't need to touch that, but we just need to include a dependency here so that we can probably go ahead and download it. Project can download automatically the Selenium WebDriver, and once it downloads the WebDriver, you would see that WebDriver jar file will be added automatically over here. So I'm going to add the WebDriver dependency. So for that, how do you search for a dependency? So suppose tomorrow I need, somebody would have developed a plugin or somebody would have developed a framework to send email. Yeah. So in that case, I don't need to reinvent the whole wheel. I can simply go search, is there any component which somebody would have developed for sending emails? I can just add that dependency here, and then I can reuse the methods and classes which are already built by somebody else as an open source. They published it. I can use them here, and then I can simply trigger the email using those classes and methods somebody would have provided. So the whole world is now moving towards more open source approach where you have most of the things already built in form of frameworks. You're going to just use them, and to use them, you need to first get them. To get them now, you have to add a dependency over here. So where do you find these dependencies? Very simple. You can simply go back and search for Maven repository, and just do a quick Google search, and now you can see here you got mavenrepository.com, and this is where you can search for all the dependencies. It's huge. I mean, it's a big ecosystem where you can find lots of free dependencies and just simply add them, and they are yours. Yeah, you can just use them, this open source, and then you can just simply get started. So what dependency are we searching here? We're going to search Selenium dependency. So I'm going to just go back and search for Selenium. And now you can see it's Selenium Java and this org.seleniumhq.selenium. Yeah, this is the dependency we would need. You can see there are about 1,000 odd people who are already using this. I'm going to go inside. And now you can see different versions. So maybe I'm going to use maybe this version, let's say 3.140, 1.59 seems to be stable. The pink ones seems to be like beta or alpha versions. Probably stable, but don't want to take a chance. I'll go with this one. Click on this, and now, wow, here you see the code to add this as part of your dependency XML, the POM XML. Copy this and come back and just paste it over here. Fantastic. So this is how you do all the packaging and dependency management using Maven, which is a very powerful tool. Yeah. Just save this. Increase the font a little bit so you guys can see this. So go to preferences in my Eclipse and just go to the appearance, colors and fonts, and maybe switch to Java and Java editor text font and edit. And we increase a little bit of font for your convenience. So later on when I'm writing the code, you guys can easily see that. Okay, it didn't change. Go back again. So properties, file editor. And also just properties, file editor, text 16 by basic text editor, block font, text font, edit 16. Yes, super. So it changed now. You see a little bigger one, and what you see immediately the moment I added the dependency and hit the save button, system has got kind of all the dependencies which are really needed as part of my my Java project automatically. See, it has downloaded these Java packages automatically, and jar files which are packaged Java files already here. So you don't really need to go inside and read everything. It's really not needed. You cannot understand the whole world. It's just what we need to do, bare minimum, to set up basic stuff and just start using it, right? So in the meantime, I'll also go back to this package, and here we have our first file, kind of a hello world file. So I presume that all of you are not as comfortable as I personally with Java. With that understanding, we will proceed. So anybody can actually develop an automation test script without knowing much about Java. Believe me, it's so easy. And if you follow my tutorials in a sequential way, you can mesmerize your manager with the test automated scripts ready in no time. And automation is the key forward for the whole world these days. People are trying to build more intelligent automated test scripts and more smart way of working with things, rather than spending a lot of time in cumbersome, error-prone manual testing techniques, right? So now we have just our first program. Just quickly, maybe I'm gonna run this as a Java application just to see if the hello world works. So editor does not contain main types. Let's see how to fix this. So we can right click on the project, we can go to properties, and we also search for Java build path here, and go to sources, select our project, and we say add folder. Yeah. So we probably want to add everything. We can just say, okay. All right. Click on apply and close. And now let's try. So I'm going to right click and just say run as Java application. And now you see packaging everything, is combining everything, is trying to execute our project now. So what we should see is just a simple hello world. Yeah. So probably this is the good start to set up your required tools in your computer. Let me know if you're facing any issues while installing this. And now we see a hello world console output. This is just a beginning. Maybe I just wanted to change this to welcome to anubhavtrainings.com Fiori automation. So build your own automation tool. That's the message from my side. Don't spend too much of money, and save your company precious money to be spent on those third-party tools, whereas you can build things by yourself, right? So this is the main goal and main idea of. So with that, it's the end of this session number 1. I hope you liked it. If you like this tutorial and if you want me to create subsequent videos, please hit the like button and share your comments in the comment box below. Feel free to subscribe this channel so you will be notified automatically when we publish the next video on Fiori test automation. With that, Anubhav signing out. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next session.